So today we're going to review two books, and I would recommend that you watch both of these videos, and they're both about one subject, and that is the man known as Elijah Poole, aka Elijah Muhammad. And the first book that we're going to talk about is Claude Andrew Clegg III's An Original Man, The Life and Times of Elijah Muhammad. And the follow-up is going to be Carl Evans' The Messenger, The Rise and Fall of Elijah Muhammad, and they're very complementary. So let's talk about Clegg's book. Clegg outlines the life of Elijah Muhammad from his humble beginnings in Sandersville, Georgia, to his days as a factory worker in Hamtramck, Michigan, to W.D. Fard's selection of him as his messenger to the lost found in North America. It's a pretty balanced assessment of his life. He doesn't seek to vilify the man, nor laud him with praise, and instead, Clegg gives an account of Elijah's life that's accessible, one that can easily be read in the historical context of the era of American history in which Elijah lived in. This is definitely a positive about this monograph. The author sets the stage for, unlike the autobiography of Malcolm X, in which you feel that for some reason or another, key info is being left out. This work really leaves you with a holistic view of Elijah's life decisions in light of his environment. And this is something that other biographers of Islamic and pseudo-Islamic personalities have really failed to do. This is not, a hagiography. It's an accurate description of his life. His theology and what informed it is covered to satisfiable depth. And to my surprise, much of what is popularly thought as the later machinations of Elijah Muhammad are actually the teachings and organizational structure laid out by W.D. Fard. How this theology was expanded upon, how its effects were curbed by circumstance and opportunity, it really gives us great insight into Elijah Muhammad as a social leader first and foremost, and a religious leader secondly. Now, his relationship with Fard is touched upon, but not in enough detail to understand how Fard groomed him to be the messenger. The reader's left wondering if his succession was really a matter of divine providence, or was it a power struggle, or was it a culmination of both? There are allegations of Fard and Muhammad's involvement in the Moorish Science Temple. That's hardly dealt with at all, and Claire Muhammad's role in enticing her husband to follow Fard is only lightly touched upon. Additionally, Fard's identity is not dealt with in enough detail, and it really leaves the reader wanting to know more about this mysterious figure. It would have been extremely useful to read some of the personal correspondence that's referred to between the two, which actually can be viewed on the internet. There's a few websites out there that have it. And that would have helped us gain greater appreciation for the love and respect the messenger showed for his savior. In the end of his days, he claimed to receive revelation from Fard, hearing his voice like thunder from the sky. Interestingly enough, there's enough information outlining Fard that one could really suppose that he was of South Asian origin, as W.D. Muhammad rahimahullah has actually said that he was probably from the area which is nowadays is known as Pakistan. W.D. Muhammad's claim to have spoken to Fard either in person or on the phone is not dealt with at all, which makes, making the man's identity all the more a mystery. Could Elijah's frequent trips to Pakistan be evidence of Fard's origins and outcome? Did the concept of the Asiatic black man simply return to the subcontinent after the U.S. got too hot for him? These are questions that go unanswered. The book deals with many of the facets of Elijah's life. Some of them were very eye-opening for me. We learned about Elijah Muhammad the man, Elijah the messenger, Elijah the entrepreneur, and Elijah the father figure. The pitfalls mentioned of the nation's management structure and business acumen are enough to wake any idealist up to the reality of the NOI as a movement, and that the NOI was and is no more different than most religious organizations in that sense. Elijah as a father figure is extremely important. To me, it was one of the more interesting areas of the book. It explains a lot about not only the man's great ability to motivate his followers and nurture their innate abilities, but also explains the nepotism that became inherent to the organization in its later years, as well as the changes that W.D. Muhammad tried to make after his accession to leadership upon his father's death. Now, sadly, however, Elijah the thinker is never touched upon. We never get a clear enough reading of Elijah's psyche and thoughts. We're never able to see his thought process, read his mind. Although mental health problems are alluded to when discussing his imprisonment, there's no analysis of his personality. Nothing of any sort is given in depth. Now, Elijah, the movement, is the most outstanding part of this book. He successfully protected his brand until his death and was hands down the most successful black leader of his time, perhaps in the history of the United States. And that's a sour note for some people, but it really is true. The work, I recommend this to anyone that thinks they have Elijah Muhammad figured out. And it's definitely a credit to the legacy of this man, about who I'm sure a much longer work could be written. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit the notification bar. Check out the other videos that are on the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll see you for the upcoming review.